My backdrop came in. So now you don't see the craziness in the back of the office. But I definitely knew that I wanted books in my background. So whether I'm going to be on camera streaming or, if I'm going to be doing this between the pages, you guys get to see this awesome book backdrop. I promise I will make it better. You do not want to know how this thing is being held up right now. Um, so before we crash again or something like that, and I really hope that doesn't happen again because I'm supposed to be playing Among Us with Nope and the Gang later today. I'm going to hope to stream that. If not, then you guys can catch me being all sneaky and sus on someone else's channel for a couple of hours. So I'm going to get started. I really hope you guys get to come back in. Renegade was here, Shaken was here, and Failed. Love it that you guys are here. Thank you for supporting me. So we're going to get into this. Welcome to episode 5 of Between the Pages. Today we are discussing Jim Butcher's, yes, we're back, Jim Butcher's Turncoat. It's number 11 in the Dresden Files series, and I had a little accident. There was an incident. Now, what happened was, when I read books nowadays, I'm listening to them, audiobooks style, on Overdrive. We've discussed Overdrive before. If you like electronic books and or audiobooks, please go to your local library, apply for a card if you don't already have one, download on whatever device that you have Overdrive. Overdrive gives you digital access to the entire repository that your library has, which there may be a wait list, but most of the time it's very fast. You can get all of their titles on your phone for free. A lot of people have book services, and that's great. Glad you support that. I'm glad you guys are reading in whatever capacity. But for free, you can get access to your local library's repository, and I always encourage that. Anyway, so I had set holds on Turncoat, which is number 11 in the Dresden Files, and also Changes, which is number 12, because Butcher books, all the Dresden File ones, and maybe all the others, Butcher books, there's usually a pretty big wait list, so I like to put my name down as soon as I can. Unfortunately, Changes came available before Turncoat, and I didn't look, and I was halfway through Changes, which is number 12, before I realized there's a lot of stuff that I'm missing. There's a time gap. What am I doing? So I looked into it, and I was like, oh crap. Luckily, that day, Turncoat had also become available, so I put down the half-finished Changes and picked up Turncoat. That's why I only finished this book an hour ago. This is going to be super short, which Failed is probably going to love that because he's my wonderful, amazing editor, and I love him so much. Okay, so like I said, this is going to be short. I have a very brief synopsis that I'm going to go over. We're going to unpack whatever it has to say, introduce you to some characters if you've missed. I believe I did on my first episode, which is somewhere in the ether, no longer to be seen. I never downloaded it. I'm sorry. If you've missed it, I'm going to go over the characters every time I do a Butcher or any series. I'll go over the characters and a little bit of the story. The synopsis will not give you spoilers, but if you continue after the synopsis, you may get spoilers from the book. I'm sorry, but that's what we're here for, is discussing this. I really hope Bard makes it in, because Bard is also a Dresden File reader, and, what are you saying? Thank you! Isn't my backdrop great? You can hardly tell it's not real. Anyway, so we're going to get into the synopsis. I have a few notes, and then we're going to wrap up. Maybe we can still have a little dialogue if we have time, and if I don't, drop out again. Okay. And again, I apologize for my very raggedy appearance. I literally did nothing today but work on my child's Google Classroom and then come here to work on the backdrop and my synopsis. Okay. So, Turncoat, number 11 in the Dresden Files. Accused of treason against the wizards of the White Council, Warden Morgan goes in search of Harry Dresden in a desperate attempt to clear his name and stop the deadly punishment from taking place in this latest thrilling edition of the Dresden Files series. Like I said, synopsis, very brief. So what we're going to do right now, and if you haven't read this and you don't want any sort of spoilers, don't watch any more of this. Just throwing it out there. Okay. So, in the Dresden world, Harry obviously is a wizard. He's an out-and-out wizard. You can find his name in the Yellow Pages under Wizard. He's the only one in Chicago, Illinois. Harry recently, within the last few books, became a warden of the White Council. The White Council is the governing body of wizards throughout the world. And the wardens are basically their police body. They track down wizards that are breaking the law, bring in warlocks, uphold the law, and they also keep the monsters and nasties at bay. It sounds a lot better when James Marsters is reading it, but I promise you, this is what it is. So yes, the White Council has been having a lot of problems with Harry, since Harry was a thing. Harry's first instructor, his first teacher, was a warlock who tried to abuse and turn Harry and another young wizard at the time. I cannot recall her name at this very moment in time, but I will find it out. Anyway, so at that point, Harry killed the evil warlock instructor that was his master, and the council tried him and found him guilty, but instead of executing him like they normally would, they put him on probation, basically, and gave him to a new master, which is Ebenezer. Ebenezer I love. He's an excellent character. And actually today, when I finished the book, I found out another reason why I love Ebenezer so much. Ebenezer is a total book nerd. He has books full to bursting on his shelves, as it is described in the book. And he has journals from his master, his master's master, so on and so forth, all the way back to the original Merlin. Now, Merlin now in Dresden's world is a title for the leader of the White Council of Wizards. So you're still observing the reverence of the name Merlin and the talent upheld by the person that holds the post. So that's really cool to me. I like that a lot. So yes, that's Ebenezer. Basically, being with Ebenezer, working on the farm in the middle of the Heartland, Dresden learned a lot of humility. He learned a lot of control. He's still a very powerful and a very young wizard by wizard standards, but he's such a lovable character. He has so many character flaws, and like we discussed last week, or maybe it was the week before. It was the week before, sorry, whenever we were discussing Shakespeare for Squirrels. He's got so many flaws and blind spots, and he's just relatable. He always wants to do the right thing, and whether it's the wrong thing, it's always the just thing, the fair thing. And that's what really got him in trouble in this book, because Morgan, who was basically the, for lack of a better term, he was the executioner for the White Council. He was very judicious about his job. He was very passionate, and he was never happy to kill somebody, but he was happy to uphold the law and protect all wizards and the council. So we have this love-hate relationship with Morgan, and it really goes to show that when Morgan was down and accused of this horrible atrocity, he came to Harry because Harry knew what it was like to be hunted and to be innocent at the same time. Morgan knew that Harry was the only person who would be willing to believe him. So, that was a huge thing for them. And without giving away the rest of the book, I think we're going to stop with the unpacking. Although I do want to mention that the werewolves are present in this book again. Yay, love the werewolves. Billy is no longer Billy. He is now Will. He is a very big grown-up now. And I think he and Georgia did get married. So, yay, werewolves! Okay, so beyond the synopsis of the story, I wanted to talk about a couple of things. In the very beginning of the book, and throughout the book entirely, and a lot of his books, Jim Butcher loves to put nerd references, lots of nerd references. Oh my gosh. Like, I'm pretty sure I missed a couple because I wasn't able to write them down, and we all know that my short-term memory is awful. So, what I did write down there were a couple of great Star Wars references. He's constantly calling his apprentice Molly Padawan or Grasshopper. Grasshopper may not be Star Wars, but it's still a nerd reference. But he's always calling her Padawan, and I love it. But he definitely said something about the fourth moon of Yavin. And if you guys know anything about me, every time I play on Javelin 4 in Destiny 2 for the PvP map, I call it Yavin 4. It seems right. So what we were talking about, and when I say we, I mean me and Nick, because Nick is my best friend. Nick is Thorsenheim, by the way. I'm sorry I have to reveal his real name because I messed up. But we were talking about, we were like, well, I was like, the fourth moon of Yavin. I was like, why not just say Yavin 4? And so we looked in deeper to it. Did you know that Yavin Prime, which is the actual planet, has 26 moons? So Yavin 4 is the fourth moon in 26. It's either 26 or 23. Still an outrageous amount of moons. And Yavin 4 is one of 3 planets that can sustain life. That was a really cool reference that I didn't even know. Like, obviously I knew about Yavin 4. That's why I call Yavin 4 Yavin 4. But I also didn't know that there were that many moons. I knew there were a lot, but not that many. So we have that awesome reference. And throughout there's a lot of Star Wars references, just like a lot of quips and jibes like that. But also, and this just shows how broad of a nerd I am, my breadth of nerdiness is extensive, shall we say. There was a line at the end of one of the chapters that that Jim Butcher put in there, and it was Harry's monologue, either out loud or to himself, that he couldn't go to bed yet because he had yet miles to go before. And please, 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 please tell me you guys know Miles to Go Before I Sleep. It's not called Miles to Go Before I Sleep, but that's like the end of it. If I had had more time, I would have looked this up better. But one of the poems I've ever memorized in my life is Robert Frost's Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. I memorized this poem in the 6th grade as a requirement for school, and I think it was one of the things that, like, introduced me to my love for poetry. So, I'm going to attempt to recite it. I will probably look it up while I'm reciting from memory, and then I will correct myself when I have messed up afterwards, okay? So, like I said, this is not mine. This is Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. Yeah, this is where it gets complicated. He gives his little bells a shake. Uh, oh, so bad. I'm so bad. All right, I'm looking it up. I do know that the first stanza was correct, so. Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. Poetry Foundation, by the way, is the best place for poetry. All right, I'm going to do the whole thing again. I messed up. Ooh, I got it to 2 stanzas. It's only 4 stanzas long, so. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark, and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So that's the end of it. Sorry. So that's why I was, it instantly popped in my head. The end of that chapter, Harry was so conflicted. He was very tired. And as the story went on, you could see how far his exhaustion went. He was very tired, but he had promised Morgan that he would find the real killer, he would find the truth, and do his best to bring him to justice. So he still had miles to go before he slept, and I just like, I nerded out. I was like, oh my gosh, Jim Butcher, yet again, just stars, 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 stars. He always makes me feel like there's always something more into what he says. And like I said, I'm sure there were more references that I wanted to write down, but I was not in a position to. Like these 2 that I just mentioned about the fourth moon of Yavin and Robert Frost, I had to text it to my friend. I was like, hey, remind me to write this down. I never wrote it down, and thank goodness that I had texted it to him because he didn't write it down either. So that shows you where we're at. Additionally, I have 2 more things. 2 more things, and then we're done with the segment for this week. And we'll find something to do until we play Among Us with Nope. So yes, 2 more things. And if you caught my tweet, I mentioned a little something about maybe having a link to Joe Hill. Joe Hill is one of my favorite living authors, along with Jim Butcher and Christopher Moore. Hey, Christopher Moore! Sorry, I wanted to give him a little shout out because he actually interacted with me on Twitter, and I like fangirled super hard. I always fangirl whenever like one of the celebrities actually like likes my my tweets, but he also retweeted me, and another author is following me. I'm sorry. I'm such a nerd. Anyway, so it's a very weak link because it's not even like complete. I would have lost my mind. Like I looked it up hard to try and find this link, but I wanted to mention it because it was something that I was really passionate about. Okay, so Joe Hill. He is Stephen King's son. Well, one of. Owen's his brother. He is also an author, and he's pretty good as well. I like him. But Joe Hill is one of my favorite living authors. I got to meet him. I fangirled super hard. It was amazing. I met him this past year in Portland before everything like went to hell, obviously. And it was incredible. He signed my book. It was man, I should have brought the books in here. I really should have brought the books in here. But like I said, this was just thrown together. This is off the cuff, guys. I don't really have a script. I'm looking shit up on my computer. Ta-da. Anyway, so Joe Hill is a horror author, just like his father. And unfortunately, please don't tell Stephen King this, but I love Joe Hill way more. And I don't know why. I think I just relate to his style better. I love Stephen King's stories. They are incredible. They are amazing. I just can't get down with his style. Like, ask anybody. I love Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption more than pretty much anything. That is one movie that every time it's on AMC for 24 hours straight, I will watch AMC for the entire day. I have watched The Shawshank Redemption more than I've seen Star Wars, more than I've seen The Lord of the Rings, more than I've seen Harry Potter, all put together. I've watched The Shawshank Redemption, if not 100 times. I'm just saying. But, and I love it when he collaborates with his sons. I like Owen's a little different in style than Joe, but their collaboration, Sleeping Beauties, oh my god. Oh my god. It was amazing. Anyway, so on to the actual topic at hand. Joe Hill wrote a book a few years ago called Nosferatu. Nosferatu also being the classic horror film. It's black and white, silent. It was great. It's about a vampire, in case you didn't know. And it's also, I believe, an AMC TV show that I've not gotten to see. I believe one of the celebrities I really like, Zachary Quinto, is in it. I believe that's who is in it. And I'm excited to see it. I just haven't yet because watching TV is kind of hard for me. But Nosferatu, the main part of that entire story, TV show, everything, is the 1938 black Rolls-Royce Wraith. This was made like pre-World War I or at World War I. I'd have to check the dates. And it is the iconic part of that story. So whenever Harry is lent a vehicle from the White Vampire Court's Wraith family, he is, of course, given a silver Rolls-Royce Wraith. Now, I flipped out. I was sitting there like, oh my gosh, it's a Wraith. Like, it's silver. It represents something different as opposed to the black one. Because they're vampires. It's amazing. I've nerded out, but the problem is, the one in Nosferatu's 1938 and black, and the one in Turncoat is 1939. So that's why I say this is a little weak of a link, but I thought it was great. The Rolls-Royce Wraiths, one was black, one is silver. White Court vampires. This is a psycho vampire from the crazy mind of Joe Hill. It was incredible. So I really wanted to mention that part because I nerded out. I was super excited for it. I was a little disappointed to find out that they were a year off, but that's what happened. Also, I wanted to explain to you why they had to lend Harry such an older vehicle. In Dresden's world, not vampires, wizards and technology do not mix. Normally, Harry drives around a very old VW Beetle. He calls it the Blue Beetle. It is no longer blue. He has messed it up so many times, and it is made of some Frankensteinish, haphazard, lots of different colors and styles now of other Beetles, but it's still the Blue Beetle. So he uses it because the computers in newer vehicles often go haywire while he's driving them. Okay, so that was my my link with Joe Hill. By the way, if you guys have not read him, highly recommend. My favorite is actually, I believe it was his first full-length novel. It's called Heart-Shaped Box. If you guys like sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and horror movies, please go check out Heart-Shaped Box. I love it so much. It's so good. Highly recommend to everybody who likes horror movies. And if you want a peek into my brain and the things that I like, go ahead and read it. The last thing that I have to have a link to, and I do apologize. The mail truck is here, so if you hear that, I'm sorry. But the last thing is a very thin link to a Harry Potter reference, and I know that's pretty volatile right now to talk about. I don't want to talk about the politics of Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling, so we're gonna steer clear of that. But I did like nerd out hard because everyone knows I'm a Harry Potter nerd. I love the story. I grew up with the story. That's the end of it. Ravenclaw for life. So the last thing is actually there was a monster in this. There was a monster in this particular story that is called the Nagloshi. Now, I'm only going to say that word one time. I'm not going to say it again, only because of what I'm about to tell you. So, Harry, for the duration of the story, was calling it, oh goodness. Oh, I can't remember. Something nasty. Whatever. I'll find it out later. I'll post it again. But he wasn't calling it by its appropriate name. One, because he didn't know it for a little bit, and two, he's just like that. So, Harry would refer to this monster as either something nasty or the Skinwalker. This monster could change form, animal, person, it didn't matter. Things you couldn't even imagine. And that is why it's called a Skinwalker. I will not mention its name again because when speaking to one of the eldest members of the White Council called, oh goodness, it wasn't the Gatekeeper, it was Listens to Wind. Listens to Wind told Harry not to say the name again because the name gave it power. And that particular monster fed on fear. And sharing its name gave it more power, made it more powerful. And it just harkened me back to whenever in Harry Potter they made Voldemort one of the... I'm trying to remember the spell. It was in the Deathly Hallows. If you said its name, or if you said Voldemort, his name, it could basically ping you and they'll find you and be able to, like, capture, kill, and torture you. Not in that order, obviously. So, it's not just a Harry Potter reference. This is an idea that has been around for generations and generations because this particular monster, this Skinwalker, this N-word I'm not going to say, he was one of those monsters, those beings that became more powerful with how much you feared him, how much a people was afraid of him. And whenever you read this book, you found out that the ancient native people that this monster got its name from, they wouldn't even speak about it because they didn't want to give its name any more power because they had seen what it could do. And I think that's just an incredible link. Jim Butcher, once again, how many times in a book can you just blow my mind? How many times in a book can you just like, oh, you make people think? I cannot tell you how much I enjoy reading the Dresden Files. It's not just an epic tale of a wizard kicking ass, taking names, being awesome. the White Knight, which he's not the White Knight, and that's an inside joke for people who read the book The White Knight in the Dresden Files series. So I get so excited. I get so excited reading